behavior change therapist who has been using motivational techniques and experiential activities to transform the lives of children and their parents for over 15 years. Through her dedication to youth and community development, Chevelle was recognized for her efforts and was afforded the opportunity to meet Barack Obama and access two international fellowships through the U.S. State Department. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology and a master's in social and behavior change, along with postgraduate studies in emotional release therapy, play therapy, play therapy and neurodiversity coaching. Her passion and work in behavior change has been recognized through the Prime Minister's Youth Award for Excellence, along with the Governor General's Achievement Award. She has refined her skills by using creative ways to improve mental health and behavioral health internationally, while at Wellstone Inc. in Alabama, USA. Her aim is to become the leading child psychologist in the Caribbean. Let's give a warm welcome to our own Chevelle Campbell.
Good evening.
Sorry, I'm not hearing. Anybody else hearing? Cheryl, I think you might be on mute because I'm not hearing.
Good evening, everyone. Are you hearing me clearly now? Ashing?
Yes.
I'm hearing you now. I wasn't hearing you before.
So this evening we're going to look at the national budget and also accountability measures to keep the government accountable. And what we're going to try and do this evening is to ensure that by the end of the session, we should have a changed mindset of how we see ourselves and our responsibility when it comes to keeping the government of Jamaica accountable. So our first activity, because I like activities, I don't like when things are boring. We're looking at Miss Lorna, the supermom, versus the government of Jamaica. And what I want you to do is to respond. Using the chat. So Miss Lorna is a teacher with two small children. She and her husband, they operate a farm with 4 workers and many crops and animals. So I want you to think, when we're thinking about Miss Lorna doing her family budget, when you think of the government of Jamaica, whose responsibilities for the country's operations, tell me about the similarities in budgeting between Miss Lorna and the government of Jamaica. So when we think budget, can you tell me some things that Miss Lorna is currently doing, that the government is doing? And just feel free to open your mic and share some. If you want to write, you can write, but I would like you to open your mic and share some things. So what are some of the things that Miss Lorna might take into consideration when doing her family's budget? Not hearing from anyone.
Miss
Yes.
Lorna has to take into account her expenses for the month, if it's a monthly budget or a yearly budget.
Awesome. Anyone else? She has to take in expenses. Yes.
Also, what her income is.
What her income is. Thank you so much. So what we're going to touch on, and I love that we started there. So the first thing that Miss Lorna has to think about is the sources of income. So when we think about Miss Lorna's sources of income, Miss Lorna is a teacher. So that is a stable source of income. Miss Lorna also has a husband who operates a farm, and she's a part of the farm. So she has a lot of animals. So those are sources of income that, well, is a source of income, but it brings in many different aspects of earning. Miss Lorna also has to think about her expenditure. So money coming in is called income, and the money that is being spent is called expenditure. On a monthly level, the government has to think about the same thing. How much money is coming in, how much money is going out. With the farm, Miss Lorna knows that, you know, when it's season for the animals to be having kids, she has to think about bedding, she has to think about vaccines, she has to think about many other things, which we would call special projects or capital projects. And that is the same thing that the government has to do. When we ask about the different ways that the government and Miss Lorna are different, while Miss Lorna may she would do her budget on a monthly basis, the government has to do theirs on a yearly basis. And that's what we're going to jump into. So the national budget is Jamaica's yearly plan for how money will be earned, spent, and invested. In Jamaica, the government, when we talk about the government, it is divided into two categories. Central government, which is the ministers and the opposition, and local government, which is at the parish council level. When we speak of the national budget, it outlines it just outlines everything for the central government. So we said the members of parliament and the government ministers and the opposition. It affects all of us because government agencies operate through programs and things like schools, hospitals, roads, jobs, and more are accounted for in the national budget. So for this year, the government plans to spend $1.26 trillion. One of the other things that is very unique about this year is that the government they're accounting that the amount that they expected to get, the amount of income that they expected to get, it dropped as a result of Hurricane Melissa. So a lot of persons in the West, you know, they lost their jobs. A lot of them were farmers. A lot of them, because of no power, no internet, they lost their sources of income. So the money that the government will get off taxes, etc., that has been lessened. The national budget is prepared by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, which is spearheaded by the Honorable Favour Williams. Once the budget is approved, it is passed as a law known as the Appropriations Act, and that is done by the Governor General of Jamaica, Sir Patrick Allen. So when somebody's asking, but Miss, you tell us a lot of things. How is the budget created? So once we vote, so last year we voted on September 3rd. And then the government said, okay, this is the party that won. These are the priorities that we are going to tackle. And what they did through cabinet was to set their major priority areas, and then they draft what we call a draft budget. And this draft budget is essentially some short-term and medium-term goals that they hope to achieve throughout the year. Then, once those goals are drafted, they decide, okay, we have to come and present this in Parliament. When they come and present it in Parliament, it's not just, hey, we're going to move on. It is the responsibility of the opposition to critically review and critique this budget. So, for example, if we see, for example, $10 million being spent on any particular project, and the opposition like, we don't think we need to spend $1 million or $10 million on that, because we think it can be done for less, or maybe we think there is another project that is more urgent and would need that spent. So once that is the debate is done and the opposition reviews and critiques, then they go back, review it, and then they create that. So okay, we can put it into act, stamp it as the Appropriation Act by the Governor General, and then they start the formulation. So proper formulation, which happens between September and January. So when Hurricane Melissa happened, it happened in a good state because we were still in the development of the budget, which is the formulation stage. So currently we are in the approval stage. So everything that will be done, we're going to do it for, it's been done from March, and then by April 1st, all of that approval is happening. And between April of this year to March of next year, the approval continues. And then what we have is oversight, which is done by different agencies to ensure that, hey, these projects that the government set out to do, they are happening along with other accountability bodies. So we said the first step is the formulation, where the government plans according to the ministry's needs and the national goals, which currently we call Vision 2030. So everything we plan, how to spend, those are guided by the Vision 2030, and then the spending is allotted under all the ministries. For the approval process, the Parliament debates and they pass the budget as the Appropriations Act. Thirdly, the ministry starts spending and implementing the money. And I know that a lot of us are seeing some of the capital projects actually being started already in our communities. And then, as we mentioned, the independent bodies audit and review these spend, which is called the oversight. So some of you may be wondering, then where the money come from? A big part of the budget, which is 578 million, actually comes from what we call prior year cash, which is monies that the government allotted to spend on other things and it did not happen. So one of the biggest areas, for example, that happens from the Ministry of Education. So every year the government will allot a certain amount for overseas scholarships. So for example, scholarships to Russia for medicine, scholarships to Japan, scholarships to Brazil, and scholarships to various different countries that is not the usual that Jamaicans are used to. And when us as Jamaicans say, boy, I want to do medicine, but I am not going to Russia. And if the government expected, for example, to pay for 10 students to go to Russia and pay their monthly stipends, round trip information, etc. Once that is not done, that money returns and becomes a part of the budget. And I'm just going to pause here to remind persons, if you're just joining us, welcome. We are discussing the national budget. And before we go too far inside of the presentation, I want you to just look in the comment section and click the pretest. This will allow you to see what you know so far. And if you get all of them right, the only thing you're supposed to be seeing incorrect is number 10. And that is because I have to review it to see if you're correct or not. But if you get some wrong, nothing wrong. because at the end, you will be given the same test to do, which is known as the post test. And then once you learn some from this presentation, you will be getting your full scores. So if you have not done so, please, please, please look in the comments and fill out the pre-test. So prior year cash is one of the biggest areas where the money comes from. Secondly, we get money from tax revenue. So all of the taxes, property taxes, business taxes, every single taxes that we have to spend when we get a barrel from foreign and clear customs, those, a lot of all the govs, so that make up the bulk of the tax revenue. And that was projected for $949 billion for this financial year. So even though we said taxes in terms of like business taxes dropped this year, when we had Hurricane Melissa and people had to be clearing a lot of barrels, that was also a jump in the tax revenue. Then we have other revenue, which we call non-tax. So if you own a motor vehicle, you have to pay for your fitness. That is not a tax, but it's what we call non-tax revenue. You have to pay for your registration. That is non-tax revenue. When you say you get a dream and your granny tell yourself to buy number 17, and your dream see your dead granny from a long time and you buy number 17, the money that you get, it did a little bit more when Supreme Ventures did plan to pay out. But taxes come from that. And if you are the lucky winner to win the Super Lotto, that is slated at $307 million, you're not going to get that because the government is going to take some tax out of it. And you may get about a 250, 245. And monies that are collected from ministries that you have to pay for different things. So if you work for government, there are some little things that you pay outside of your income tax, which is taxable revenue, that goes towards non-tax revenue. The government also gets grants. And through Hurricane Melissa, we got a little bit more than what we expected, which was the $6 billion. And then the government loans, have loans too, you know. So the government lend people money. So most recently, JPS got some money as a grant, but they also got a loan for the government. And we know that once there are loans, when you pay back loan, interest come back on loan. So that's where the money comes from. So when the money goes now is another thing. So we have what we call the first thing, non-debt recurring spending. And this is just big words for things where the government have to pay for. And this is otherwise known as public sector workers' salary. So your youth empowerment officers, your psychologists, your police, your soldiers, your social workers, everybody will work in government. The biggest part of the spend, that is $857.2 billion. And that is basically salary for government workers and the upkeep of government buildings. So so debt servicing is the other thing. So we have to pay JPS, we have to pay Water Commission, we have to pay for those things. Those are the debt servicing. And the other big part, which is $62.6 billion this year, are the capital projects. And that is what we see when we talk about the government in action. The government has outlined a couple projects this year that we're going to go through. But if you look on the screen, you'll see, anybody want to tell me which ministry has the biggest financial allotment? Let me see it in the chat. Which ministry? Which ministry do you think has the biggest financial allotment?
Education.
Education. I'm not seeing it in the chat. Education. A lot of, some people saying security, you know, some people saying agriculture. But you are correct for the persons who said education. $178 billion goes to the Ministry of Education. And then we have the Ministry of National Security, which follows closely behind. So that's your police, your soldiers, your firemen, with 158 billion. And then the Ministry of Health. And then we see the amount that is allotted to transport and energy and also to agriculture. So those are the major allotments. So this year, some people may be asking, Ms. Campbell, but all your talk, I don't know how, I don't know which projects, you know. So here are some of the projects. The Cornwall Regional Hospital redevelopment is the major project that the government will be spending on this year. So the building and the fixing up, and this has been going on for some time. But the Cornwall Regional Hospital redevelopment, and also as a part of that, it is under as a separate project. There's going to be an adolescent mental health center attached to the Cornwall Regional Hospital. So, you know, everything that has to do with adolescent health, mental health, that will be another project along with the Cornwall Regional redevelopment. Those are biggest. Then the other part of the spend that was a big amount of money too was the South Coast Highway. For those of us who live in Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Elizabeth, that is the one that would say go the part of the highway that runs from Clarendon to Manchester. The other thing is STEAM school construction. And STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So we know that a lot of children, they are learning differently, and the government is trying to explore, you know, teaching children through these new methodology. They're not really new, but use more science, technology, the engineering, use more art and mathematics to streamline how education is developed in a more experiential way, so students learn by doing. So they've outlined constructing, I think, 4 or 6 of these schools for this financial year. The other thing that we'll be spending big on for this financial year is NIDS. And a lot of you may say, but Miss, NIDS lockdown? No. Anybody know a place where we used to call RGD? What they do at RGD?
Yes.
Right. So there's no more RGD. The name has already been changed to the National Identity. So it's NERA, National Identification Registration Agency. So everything will be done on the NIDS. So for example, a lot of persons who are traveling overseas, when you're applying for your visa, one of the things that is stated, or when you're applying for your passport, it asks you to use your national ID number. Currently, we use our TRN. But but all things going well, by the end of this year, that has to change. So overseas will not accept our TRN as our national ID number anymore, because once you're traveling, you'll have to have a NIDS card, and the NIDS number is being assigned, and that project has already started. The other thing that we spent major on this year is 100 new JUTC buses. We have not gotten all 100 so far, but this was for the expansion of the rural school transportation system. So we have more rural parishes benefiting from the use of JUTC buses to transport students, to ensure that students get to and from school in a safer manner. So I'm going to put Camila, are you ready? Can we assign persons into the breakout rooms? But before we go into the breakout rooms, I want you to grab your book, grab your pencil, grab a piece of paper, or grab your phone, something. We have a new community improvement project, and you're going to work as a group. and you're going to do a community improvement project with $2 million, because the constituency development fund is $2 million. And you are the member of parliament for Parish Town, which is in Southwest Clarendon. And your rural community is growing, but it has some challenges. It has one primary school and one basic school. Many people host parties in the area, and it is close to Milk River Bath. In August, Indian festivals are held, and people enjoy taking hikes in your community and picking fruits on your trail. However, the community has bad roads, no street lights, poor garbage disposal, blocked drains, and a damaged community center. What you're going to do in your group is to choose 3 things that you'll be working to improve. And let me know which 3 you're working on. Once you identify your 3, identify the issues as either structural, social, environmental, etc. And you're going to tell me how much out of the $2 million you are going to spend on. So Camille, if we are ready, please assign the breakout rooms. All right, we have the breakout rooms. Do we have an admin person in each group? I'm not hearing. All right, so groups.
Persons have been assigned to groups. I guess either of us from the admin team could join as an admin representative.
Okay, that's
What
fine.
exactly would you like for us to do?
Yeah, just join one of the groups to ensure that each group is actually working on budgeting.
Okay.
All right, so the group that I'm currently in, I'm seeing a couple persons. You have $2 million to fix up your community. I'm just here as an observer. So between all the other persons that are here, you have to discuss how you're going to spend the $2 million and what are the 3 issues that you would tackle. Kimon, Nicola. All right, yes, Jasmine, go ahead.
Good evening. Is it possible for you to share the question again so I can just screenshot it and go back?
Okay, not a problem. Let me just share and come back here. Entire screen, share, and go. All right. Are you seeing it?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
You're welcome. This group is quiet. I guess I'm not hearing anything. I'll just be seeing persons prioritizing and just dropping stuff in the comment section. That works too. But I wanted persons to work together. I'm not seeing that.
Yes, I don't see where it said to join a breakout room.
No, you're in a breakout room currently. So other persons are in other rooms. This is a breakout room. So this is one of the rooms. So you guys are supposed to be talking to see what issues do you think are the top 3. If you don't want to work together, you can just decide on your top 3 and why. All right. All right, so we'll just reconvene. So Camille, if you can just rejoin everybody to the main group and we'll just have them drop in. So just let me know when you've added everybody back to the main group. Are we back, Camille? Yes, so can we just put everybody to come back to the main room? So we're closing the breakout rooms. Shane, can you let me know when we have closed the breakout rooms?
Okay, sure.
Awesome. Group 3 was doing awesome. I'm seeing where group 3 was having an active discussion. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of what they put in the chat. So we just want to add everyone back to the main. Because we know it's a Saturday evening and people are tired. So we just want to come right back. We want them to get as much as they can from this webinar. Still seeing breakout rooms. Are we all back in the main group? So for the persons in this
Not as
room,
yet.
okay, for the persons in this breakout room, start dropping in the chat what are your top 3 areas, and what are the 3 projects that you decided to spend on, and how much money you allotted to each spend? So I want to start seeing those in the chat. Awesome. Welcome back,
Everybody's getting.
everyone. Yes, I'm seeing everyone in the breakout room. Thank you so much. I'm seeing where group 3 was doing an amazing job, and I want to say thank you so much, group 3. Congratulations. I heard that the discussions were rich. So it's not just group 3, we had many other groups. So right now, all groups, I want you to tell me, what were your top 3 items that you wanted to spend on, and tell me how much money you spent on each project. So if somebody tell me that they wanted to spend on putting in street lights as the #1 priority, let me know how much money out of the $2 million you spent on the street lights. If somebody said they wanted to put cleaning out garbage as #1 priority, let me know what you decided to do and how much money you decided to share on that. So I'm looking in the chat. Looking in the chat to see some of the responses. We can give away a credit, man. So let me see. And some credit. Let me see what's happening. Let me see what's happening. All right. So somebody said, listen, the Damaged Community Center. Let me look for the rest of the... Oh, Lord. Let me see. Wow. So I'm seeing here. Awesome. So I'm just seeing some. So block drainage, bad roads, and garbage disposal. And a lot of people put the block drains on #1. I'm seeing VK put block drains. Is that your #1 priority? Right. Fix the road and install street lights. But how much money you decided to spend on each? Because I'm not seeing any of that. And that was the purpose of the activity. So let me keep on running. So I'm going to tell you why we needed to do that. But keep on putting them in there. I'm going to share so you can understand the purpose of the activity. So I'm going to resume sharing, and I'll tell you why. When we have activities, for example, the capital projects that the government is saying, hey, this is what I'm spending. We can't just get up and say, hey, bad roads are what we're going to fix. When we're going to keep the government accountable, one of the things that we have to know is the goals have to be smart. So for example, the Cornwall Regional Hospital, there is a budget assigned to that. And one of the things, at the end of the webinar, you'll be getting a workbook that has a little bit more information in it about how much some of the spends are, and have a little bit more questions. So if, for example, the spend was $9 billion for that, in the national budget, it is there outlined. They're going to build a hospital. This is what's going to be done. For the STEAM schools, they're saying, hey, we have some schools already that we're just going to retrofit and buy some things. And this is the amount that we're spending on resources for these schools. And they have to name the schools. So we can't just say we're going to fix the road and spend some money, because that way we cannot audit. So the type of issue present, this is how we'll do it. And you'll see this in the booklet that you'll get at the end. And once you finish your pre-test and your post-test, you'll get a copy of this as well as a e-certificate to say that you've participated in this webinar. So when we're doing that, the Auditor General is the person who reviews the spending. And right now, a lot of things are being revealed. So for example, one of the biggest irregularities that we're seeing is at the University Hospital of the West Indies, where they say, okay, we're going to buy machines, or we bought machines and this is what we spent. When they go to the Auditor General is doing the review, we don't have any invoices. We don't know who you ordered from. We can't find the machines. And then people now have to be answering. Another body that does the accountability is the Integrity Commission. And what they do, their primary focus is to investigate corruption. We also have, as our partner for this CivicPulse project, the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, otherwise known as JAM. And what they do is to track the ministry's performance. So the performance of each ministry, the performance of each minister. So for example, if your member of parliament say, hey, this is what we'll be working on. For example, for Southeast Clarendon, one of the projects that the minister highlighted was a water program. So a lot of areas that didn't have water. So, and that project has already started. So if you go on the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, you will see that. And persons like me and other persons who live in that constituency can say, hey, yeah, man, this is what is started. And then we're going to use the GovWatch JA App to monitor the project. So for example, we can say, okay, they said that they're going to get the contractors, that has already happened. They got the surveyors, that has already happened. They got persons to dig the trenches, that has already happened. They contacted the National Water Commission, that has already happened. They dug the trenches, put in the main pipes, and what we're waiting on is basically all the pipes to be connected, and then the water to be in the pipes, and then it cover, and then the road repaired, because that is what is outlined in the national budget. And once you're on this call, you'll get a summary of that along with the links to the national budget. So we went through that. We spoke about the Integrity Commission, the Auditor General's Department, and there are other things such as the standing orders. The standing orders are done in the House of Representatives, and basically what it does is outline the rules and procedures that conduct the way government does business, which is primarily what I just spoke about. So you can't just say, hey, you know, my friend sells sand and I just bought sand. You have to get the 3 invoices. You have to take it from, not necessarily the cheapest, but the best producer. How do you quantify them being the best? Okay, they do delivery, even though they're a little bit more expensive. These things have timelines, etc. And the standing orders that has been around since independence govern the way that the government spends money. We also have the political ombudsman that really, governs the political process. And we spoke about JAMP and the GovWatch JA app. The GovWatch JA app is actually and was actually created by the Lesma Ellis Foundation, and that is what we're going to preview right now. So I'm gonna, Shane, you can go ahead. I'm gonna stop presenting. I think I dropped.
Okay, sure. All right, so I see we've reached the 1 hour mark. So it won't take up much of everyone's time, because I know persons probably have questions or comments or feedback. So Chevelle, can you share the link to that video? So a video was created by one of the citizen testers. So it's a 6-minute video. We won't play the entire 6 minutes. We'll just get to the good parts, or perhaps I can share my screen with the video. Find it. But basically, this video is just showing you the GovWatch JA app and how you use it to upload reports or issues that you identify along your daily paths in life. Remember, there's a competition surrounding this. So for those of us who are in the WhatsApp group, I will also share this video in the WhatsApp group. So if we were to go to GovWatchJA.com, the app has been officially launched now. So for those who are not familiar, I will just share my screen now and play this video. I'll be going through very quickly in the interest of time. So just let me know if you guys are seeing my screen. Seeing it? Anybody seeing my screen?
Yes, we are.
Unit.
Okay. Are you able to hear as well?
Loud and clear. Not hearing the audio from the video.
Okay, thanks for that. All right, so that's going to be some technical difficulties. So in the interest of time, what we'll do, I'll share this video with everyone, those of us who are in the WhatsApp group, or you can check your email. And this will basically show you how to use the GovWatch JA app. But what I will talk about now is the expectations going forward in using the app for the CivicPulse champions that are on the call. So the aim is to get at least 50 citizen submitted reports by using the GovWatch JA app. So what that means, are the expectations from persons actually on this call, is that we would want you to, based on what you would have learned today and know about the CivicPulse initiative, and not just today, for those of us who attended previous sessions, we want you to go into your different groups, whether it's your club, school, church, community, etc. And we want you to tell other persons about what you would have learned about the budget, holding the government accountable, as well as sharing the GovWatch JA app with them to use as a tool to hold the government accountable, or just to report issues in your community that we need to be resolved. So how this will work is that each champion that is on the call today, once the session is ended, by tomorrow, we will be sending you an email as well as sharing in the WhatsApp group, for those of us who are in the WhatsApp group, the instructions on how you go about engaging your friends, family, etc., and encouraging them to use the application. There will be a tracker, a Google tracker. So what that tracker does is, for each person you refer, ensure that you know the email that they signed up with, so that when you go on the tracker sheet, you can say, okay, you refer this person, this is their email, as well as share the link to the report that that person would have submitted. Once you would have done that, we need at least 3 reports from each champion. Once you would have done that, you would have qualified to receive the rewards, or just a stipend for your participation in this project. So there are 2 trackers that we will share. So one is just to refer the person. There is something else that once the person has done it, they submit a report. At the bottom of the report in the app itself is something that says referral. So in that, they can also put your email to show that you are the person that referred them. And that is how we'll be able to know that you, as a CivicPulse champion, would have actually participated and qualified to get the stipend. So even though the minimum number of reports that we recommend for you to submit as champion is 3, you can always do more. And remember, this is something even beyond this week or next week. It's something you can use daily throughout the year, or whenever you see something happening in and around your communities. So we hope to get at least 50 citizens submitted report by next week, Saturday. So that's the aim where this competition is concerned. And I think based on what I said and what has been discussed before, that should entail everything. If there's something I miss, At this time, we'll open the floor for Q&A. So whether it's about the presentation that Chevelle gave, or about the app, or about the competition itself, we welcome those questions right now.
Thank you so much, Shane. And, that was the GovWatch JA app in a nutshell. The link will be sent so you can sit down and watch it. It's very easy to use, very user friendly. And the only way we can know what's happening in the communities, sometimes your members of parliament don't live in your communities. And I know Camille would have been sharing some polls at some time. The members of parliament, if they don't live in your communities, they won't know what's happening. So the only way to do that sometime is to let them know. And a lot of persons will say, but miss, me busy, I'm going to work. Using the app to log issues that are there are some of the ways that the members of parliament will know the pressing issues in the community. It has been my pleasure being with you this evening. And I am open for the questions. If you have any questions, just go ahead and drop them in the chat.
Or you could unmute your mics as well and share feedback or questions. So I guess everybody understood the expectation for next week with the GovWatch JA app, right? And remember, it's accessible on any device. So whether you're using an Android, an iPhone, iOS, or you're using a browser, you can access it by typing GovWatchJA.com. So the first question is, how do I join the WhatsApp group? All right. So I'll share the link to the WhatsApp group in the chat just now. So give me a second to find it. All right, so while I'm doing that, does anybody else have any questions?
No questions, just feedback. Somebody said, I really enjoyed the presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much. Jason Gordon, do you have a question? Mr. Gordon?
No, I'm sorry. I don't have a question.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Gordon. So I think that is it, Ashane. So at this time, we're just going to ask persons. Ashane will be sharing the link again for the post test. So the link he just shared was for the WhatsApp group. If you are interested in being one of the champions, and you don't have to be a champion to just say, listen, this is happening in my community and I want to share other progress on something that is happening or an issue that is currently happening. So he just shared the post test link. And remember, in order to get your certificates that you participated in this evening's session, you have to do the pre-test and the post test so we can see, because if you did get 5 out of 10 for the pre-test, you're supposed to get 10 out of 10 for the post test, because Chevelle covered every single thing in the presentation. So we want you to just click on the post test, go ahead and finish, and you will get your e-certificate sent to you along with the link for the GovWatch JA app. You'll also get a booklet, which is basically a toolkit that outlines all of the presentation with a little bit more detail and activities that you can work on to test your knowledge at home.
2 things, I've been in an all-day seminar. If you can't hear my background, I'm still in a seminar.
Okay. Thanks, Ms. Samuels. So just go ahead and click on your post test and just complete that so that your e-certificates can be sent to you.
All right, so there is no other questions or comments. So So Ayana Nesbet says, very nice setup of the GovWatch app, good presentation. So I guess persons have already started accessing it. That's good. So hopefully by next week, Saturday, each champion that is on this call that would have been trained and know about the budget and accountability, as well as you would have clicked the link to join the WhatsApp group where we'll be communicating next week. So as persons submit reports, we can be aware any questions you have or challenges, and we'll be sending out a package with the clear instructions. So once you get the 3 persons to submit their reports, whichever community they are from, and you know you teach them 1 or 2 things that you would have learned from this session, just ensure that you capture their emails so that we can know that you are the ones who would have referred these persons. And there's a form that actually tracks that we will share in the package as well, because we would have had your emails, and we are monitoring the session, so we know who attended today. So we'll definitely send out the emails to you guys so that you can participate. So if there are no other questions or comments, I'll hand over back to Joanna to see what's the next thing on the agenda.
Thank you, Shun. At this time, we would like to ask Kimoni to do the vote of thanks, please.
Hi, good night, everyone. So, on behalf of everyone here, I would like to extend our sincere thanks to our presenter for delivering such an insightful and engaging CivicPulse presentation. Thank you. Your knowledge and the perspectives that you have added great value to today's discussion. We also wish to thank our host, along with just the entire foundation and the organizing team for just planning, coordinating, and doing any behind the scenes work that made this virtual webinar a success. And finally, we would like to thank all the participants, so everyone who joined today online. Your time, engagement, and contributions made this session truly meaningful. So we appreciate everyone's involvement, and we just want to thank you all.
Thank you, Kimon, for that beautiful vote of thanks. Good night, everyone. Thank you for coming out. We look forward to your continued support.